Have you ever stood in front of a door, believing with every beat of your heart that once you stepped through it, your entire life would begin? A door you prayed for, worked for, sacrificed for. A door you told yourself, this is it, this is the one, my future starts here. And then, without warning, without mercy, that very same door slams shut in your face. Not quietly, not gently, but with a force that echoes through your entire soul. This is the story of such a moment that felt like an ending, but was secretly preparing a beginning far greater than anything imagined. Aiden stood still, frozen in a hallway that suddenly felt colder than winter. The door that he had convinced himself was the gateway to the life he always dreamed of was now locked, silent, unmoving. He stared at it as if disbelief could force it open again, as if the universe would suddenly say, "No, this was just a mistake. Here, try again." But the universe remained quiet. And in that quiet, Aiden felt something inside him collapsing. A year of hope, a lifetime of dreams, and every small sacrifice he'd made, all crumbling into dust at his feet. The hallway lights buzzed softly above him, flickering like tired stars. People whispered as they passed, their footsteps tapping the floor like tiny reminders that the world was moving on, even if he couldn't. Aiden's hands were trembling, not from anger, but from the terrible weight of disappointment, the kind that sinks into your bones and whispers, "You've failed." He tried to swallow the knot in his throat, but it felt like a stone lodged in his chest. He took one step backward, then another, as if distance could numb the pain of the door that denied him. He didn't know it yet. He couldn't know. But one day, he would look back at this exact moment, the stillness, the sting, the humiliation, and realize this was not the wrong door at all. This was the door that needed to close so the right future could finally make its way toward him. But for now, all he could feel was loss. All he could understand was confusion. All he could ask was why. And sometimes, that single question is where destiny begins. Long before that hallway, before the disappointment, before the crushing silence, there was a dream, bright, alive, and burning like a small sun in Aiden's heart. A dream he carried through childhood, through sleepless nights, through moments when everyone else rested while he pushed forward alone. His dream wasn't born from luck or random imagination. It grew from a single moment, a memory that had etched itself into his mind years ago. He was young then, too young to understand destiny, but old enough to feel its pull. He remembered sitting by a dusty window, watching the world outside move faster than he could follow. Cars rushing, people talking, opportunities passing by like shadows. He told himself quietly, "One day, I will be someone who doesn't watch life. One day, I'll be someone who shapes it." From that day, he poured himself into a single vision. He studied harder than anyone expected, failing sometimes, yes, but rising each time with a stubborn fire. When others slept, he worked. When others relaxed, he planned. When others doubted, he whispered to himself, "It's still possible." Every morning felt like a step towards something big, something meaningful. And then came the opportunity, the door, the one everyone said was impossible to reach, the one people whispered about like a legend, as if it belonged to a world above ordinary lives. When Aiden got the chance, he grabbed it with both hands. He prepared relentlessly. He rehearsed every step, memorized every detail, crafted every answer, imagined every scenario. He could feel destiny gathering around him like a silent audience. He wasn't just hoping, he was certain. He felt it deep in his chest, in the same place love and courage and faith live. "This is my path," he told himself. "This door will open. It must." And everyone around him believed it too. Friends congratulated him early. Family prayed for victory. People told him how proud they were, how bright his future looked. The night before, he barely slept, not out of fear, but because excitement shimmered through him like electricity. He saw himself walking through that door. He pictured the life waiting on the other side. He imagined the joy, the relief, the celebration. It all felt perfect, planned, guaranteed. Yet fate has its own humor, its own timing, its own way of teaching us that certainty is an illusion. He stepped into that building the next morning with confidence in his stride. His heart drummed loudly, not in anxiety, but in anticipation. This was it. This was the moment the old version of him would end and a new one would be born. He knocked on the door with a hopeful smile. He walked in expecting the universe to welcome him. But life rarely opens the door just because you believe it should. The conversation inside was shorter than he imagined, colder than he expected, and ended far sooner than his hope was ready to accept. And suddenly, he found himself standing in that hallway, watching the door close on everything he had prepared for, everything he had dreamed of. All the work, all the effort, all the years felt like they vanished in a few seconds. Aiden didn't know what hurt more, the rejection or the realization that he had no backup plan. This dream wasn't just a dream. It was his identity, his purpose, his entire sense of direction. He pressed his back against the wall, staring at the empty space ahead of him. What was he supposed to do now? Where was he supposed to go? How do you move forward when the path you spent years building suddenly ends? But this is where destiny works its quiet magic. In the moments when you feel most lost, in the moments when your heart whispers, "What now?" and life answers not with clarity, but with silence. Aiden didn't know it yet. He couldn't even guess. But one wrong door, one painful rejection, one unexpected ending was about to lead him to a future far greater than the one he thought he lost. Sometimes the story doesn't start where you planned it. Sometimes the real story begins at the moment everything falls apart. And for Aiden, this was only the beginning. Rejection has a sound that echoes long after the moment has passed. For Aiden, it wasn't the slam of the door that haunted him. It was the silence that followed. A silence so heavy it felt like the world itself had stopped breathing. He walked outside the building slowly, as if each step was borrowed strength. The sun was shining, but it felt dimmer somehow, as though even the daylight understood disappointment. People moved around him with purpose, laughing, rushing, planning their days, while he moved like a ghost, drifting through lives that made more sense than his. Cars honked, conversations floated past him, but it all felt distant, muted, broken. He found a bench outside, one he had passed many times before, but never truly seen. Today, it welcomed him like a quiet witness to his pain. He sat down slowly, placing his hands on his knees, leaning forward as if the weight of life had finally become too much. "What did I do wrong?" he whispered to himself. Not loudly, not angrily, just a soft, cracked question meant for no one and everyone. His mind raced back through every detail, the preparation, the effort, the dreams he had clung to so tightly that letting go felt like tearing off a piece of himself. Rejection doesn't simply stop you.
It unravels you. He remembered the expressions on the faces inside that room, the polite smiles, the short responses, the phrases that danced around the truth before finally striking him with finality. "We appreciate your effort, but we're unable to move forward at this time. We wish you the best." Every sentence felt like a tiny blade cutting away the future he had imagined. Aiden leaned back on the bench, closing his eyes. The breeze brushed his skin gently, but even nature's kindness felt like a painful reminder that the world keeps going, even when your dreams don't. He wanted to scream, to break something, to run until his legs gave out, but the pain was too heavy and the disappointment too deep to express through movement. Instead, tears formed silently, rolling down his cheeks without permission and without shame. He didn't cry because he was weak. He cried because he was human, because hope had a price, because dreams demanded vulnerability. In that moment, as the city around him continued its unbothered symphony, Aiden felt like a single forgotten note in a song that didn't need him anymore. Rejection is strange. It doesn't just close a door. It closes the version of yourself that believed in that door. He felt smaller, almost like he was shrinking into himself. He felt lost, not in the world, but in his own identity. Who am I without this dream? The question stabbed deeper than expected. He had built so much of his future on this one opportunity that now, without it, the map of his life looked blank, a wide, empty space with no signs, no directions, no clear destination. And yet, somewhere inside him, beneath the pain, beneath the fear, beneath the confusion, a faint whisper tried to rise. A whisper that life has a strange way of saying no to things that are too small for the greatness ahead. But Aiden wasn't ready to hear that yet. Not today, not in this moment. Pain speaks louder than purpose when wounds are fresh. For now, there was only silence. Only the weight of a dream that died too soon. And sometimes, before destiny can begin, a part of you must break. Days passed, though to Aiden they felt more like blurred moments stitched together by exhaustion. He wandered through routines he no longer believed in, carrying the quiet heaviness of disappointment like a shadow that refused to let go. He tried to distract himself with tasks, with conversations, with anything that could dull the ache. But heartbreak born from purpose is not easily silenced. One afternoon, while scrolling through opportunities he didn't truly want, Aiden stumbled upon something unexpected. A job listing, a program, a possibility so far from his original dream that he almost laughed at it. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't prestigious, it wasn't something people celebrated. In fact, it was the exact opposite of everything he had envisioned. A small company, a lesser role, a path he once looked down on, a direction he never planned to take. It felt like a step backward. It felt wrong. It felt beneath him. But sometimes desperation speaks louder than pride. Sometimes survival forces choices the heart isn't ready for. Aiden stared at the screen, his finger hovering over the apply button. He didn't want this door. He didn't believe in this door. He didn't imagine his future anywhere near this door. But at that moment, he had nowhere else to go. The hallway of his life felt long, and every other door seemed locked, hidden, or reserved for people stronger or luckier than him. So he hesitated, breathing deeply, wrestling with the idea that stepping into the wrong door might be better than staying lost in the hallway. Finally, with a deep exhale, he clicked. Days later, when he walked toward the building, a modest, unimpressive place with peeling paint and old windows, he felt an unfamiliar discomfort twisting inside him. This wasn't the world he trained for. This wasn't the environment he dreamed of. This wasn't the destiny he imagined. He could almost hear his past self whispering, "You're not supposed to be here." But another voice, quieter, gentler, asked, "Then why does life keep bringing you here?" He took a slow step toward the entrance. The door was plain, worn at the edges, the kind of door people walked through without thinking. There was nothing special about it, no golden glow, no symbolic beauty, no sign of the future waiting behind it. Yet something about the simplicity felt strangely honest, as if this door didn't pretend to be anything other than what it was. Aiden stood there for a moment, hand hovering above the handle, heart unsure, mind conflicted. He didn't know it, but this was the very moment destiny had been quietly preparing for, the moment where pride would bend, fear would soften, and the universe would gently nudge him toward the path that never appeared on his original map. With a breath that trembled slightly, Aiden pushed the door open. The hinges creaked, a sound carrying a strange symbolism, like the breaking of an old belief or the beginning of a new story. Inside, the room wasn't impressive. A few desks, old cabinets, faded posters on the walls, a handful of people who looked surprised to see someone new. It felt wrong, so far from everything he had dreamed. But Aiden stepped forward anyway, not because he believed in this path, but because he couldn't stay where he was, because even the wrong door is still a door. And what he didn't know, what he couldn't possibly imagine, was this door, the one he chose out of defeat, would become the doorway to everything he was truly meant to become. Life has a strange way of hiding the right future behind the doors we avoid the most. And Aiden had just stepped inside his.
The first days inside the new place felt like stepping into a world built from pieces that didn't fit him. Nothing looked familiar, nothing felt right. Nothing seemed to match the picture he once painted of his future. The air inside the room was thick, filled with the smell of old papers, dusty files, and machines that hummed with the tired energy of work done simply to survive. The people there were polite but distant, their eyes carrying the weight of lives shaped by routine rather than ambition. Aiden quickly realized something painful. No one here knew his dreams, and more painfully, no one cared. They saw him as just another newcomer, just another pair of hands, just another person doing what needed to be done. On his first day, he was handed tasks that felt mundane, boring, insignificant. Sorting papers, carrying boxes, organizing things no one else wanted to touch. He stared at the pile of work in front of him, feeling a slow burn of frustration rise inside his chest. This isn't what he worked for. This isn't what he sacrificed for. This isn't the life he imagined himself waking up to. Every task felt like a reminder of what he lost. Every instruction felt like an insult to the abilities he once believed he had. Every hour felt like time wasted, time that could have been spent chasing the dream that slipped away. But the bills didn't care. Reality didn't care. Life didn't care. So he did the work anyway, not with pride, but with a quiet resentment that slowly carved itself into his spirit. Days turned into weeks, and each morning he woke with a heaviness in his chest, dragging himself into a place that felt too small for him, too limiting, too far away from what he believed he was meant to become. Sometimes he would pause and look at himself in the restroom mirror, asking the reflection, "Is this really me? Is this what it's come to?"
But no mirror ever answers questions of the soul. And yet, beneath the frustration, beneath the disappointment, beneath the sense of being misplaced, something else quietly began to grow. Not hope, not yet, but awareness, observation, the beginning of understanding. In the silence of this unplanned chapter, Aiden began to notice the people around him more deeply. There was the older man with tired eyes who never complained, even when his back ached. There was the woman who worked 2 jobs, but still managed to smile while talking about her daughter's dreams. There was the young intern who wasn't brilliant or gifted, but showed up every morning with a focus Aiden couldn't understand. These people weren't trapped. They weren't lesser. They weren't failures. They were surviving, fighting, enduring, in ways he never had to before. Aiden realized something uncomfortable. He had spent so much time reaching for a dream that he had forgotten how to simply live, how to notice life outside of his ambition, how to be human beyond his expectations. But the struggle remained. Every night he went home tired, mentally drained, emotionally bruised. He questioned his worth. He questioned God. He questioned fate. He questioned the point of trying at all. And yet, every morning, he still returned. Something kept him pulling forward, even if he didn't understand why. Sometimes the right path begins as a road you hate. Sometimes your purpose hides in places that feel beneath you until you realize the humility they plant is the foundation of your strength. But Aiden wasn't ready to see the blessing yet. For now, he was still in the struggle, stumbling through a season designed not to punish him, but to prepare him. And destiny, though silent, was watching, waiting, ready to unfold its next soft miracle. It happened gradually, almost invisibly, like dawn creeping into a dark room without anyone noticing the first ray of light. One ordinary afternoon, while Aiden was working on another task he considered beneath him, he overheard a conversation between 2 colleagues. They were discussing a problem the team had been struggling with for weeks, a workflow issue no one could solve, something tangled, complicated, frustrating. Aiden listened quietly at first, not because he wanted to help, but because the problem intrigued him. It tugged at something in his mind, a skill he rarely used anymore, something that used to be effortless for him when he still believed in his potential. Without thinking, he spoke. Just a small suggestion, a simple idea, a different angle, a piece of insight shaped by experiences no one here knew he had. The room went silent. Everyone turned. They looked at him differently, not as the guy who sorted papers, not as the newcomer who did tasks in the background, but as someone who understood something they didn't. One of them asked him to explain. So he did. Slowly at first, carefully, unsure if his words even mattered. But as he continued, confidence began to return, like a forgotten melody resurfacing in the mind of a musician. When he finished, the supervisor stared at him, eyes slightly widened. "That might actually work," he said quietly. "Try it." And so Aiden worked on it, not because he had to, but because a part of him suddenly ignited again. He stayed late, studying the details, adjusting the process, connecting pieces others didn't notice. Hours passed without him feeling the time. His mind was alive again, his heart engaged, his purpose awakening from the silence it had slept in. The next morning, the results were clear. Aiden's idea worked. Perfectly, efficiently, brilliantly. People praised him. His colleagues respected him. Even the supervisor, who barely acknowledged him before, now spoke to him with admiration. But the greatest change wasn't the recognition, it was internal. For the first time since his rejection, Aiden felt something shift inside him, a spark of confidence, a whisper of capability, a reminder that his talent hadn't disappeared, it had simply been waiting for a place that truly belonged. That small victory opened more doors. People asked for his help. They valued his input. They sought his ideas. Aiden started learning new things, gaining skills he never expected, understanding aspects of the work that surprisingly fascinated him. Slowly, the place he hated began to feel less like a punishment and more like a stepping stone. He noticed things he overlooked before, the kindness in people's eyes, the wisdom in their stories, the strength in their struggles. He began to appreciate the simplicity, the honesty, the community. And then, one afternoon, he realized something that stopped him in his tracks. If he had gotten his original dream, he never would have discovered these strengths. He never would have learned these lessons. He never would have met these people, gained these insights, or developed these new parts of himself. The wrong door was leading him to the right future, piece by piece, moment by moment, step by unexpected step. He didn't realize it fully yet, but the blessing hiding behind this unwanted season was growing stronger every day. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it wasn't something he could explain to anyone else, but it was real, deep, transformative. And in time, this hidden blessing would become the very reason his life changed forever.
There are seasons in life when the world goes quiet, not because everything is peaceful, but because everything inside you is louder than ever. For Daniel, this was that season. After the humiliation, the rejection, the collapse of everything he believed was his path, he didn't speak much. Not because he had nothing to say, but because he had finally reached that point where silence becomes the only place where truth can breathe. Every morning he woke before the sun rose, not out of excitement, but because pain rarely lets anyone sleep in. He would stare at the ceiling, replaying the same questions. Why did this happen? Was I not good enough? Why didn't the door I worked so hard for open? But something unusual began happening. As the days passed, the pain didn't disappear, but it started to shape him. Like a potter shaping clay, you could almost feel life pressing into him, turning his frustration into fuel, turning his loneliness into clarity, turning his confusion into an inner hunger to rebuild. He began studying again, but this time not for approval, but for understanding. He practiced again, but this time not to prove himself, but to become better. He worked on his skills, but this time not hoping someone would notice, but because he wanted to honor the gift he had ignored for so long. In this quiet season, Daniel discovered a secret most people never learn. The world applauds results, but God builds greatness in silence. No spotlight, no recognition, no applause. Just the young man in a small room with a broken dream behind him and an invisible future in front of him. And yet, this was the most important season of his life, because it was here, in silence, that he learned what he could never learn through success. That strength grows in the dark, that patience grows when nothing happens, that faith grows when everything seems impossible. And slowly, very slowly, Daniel began to rise again, not with noise, but with purpose. Life doesn't announce the moment everything changes. It doesn't warn you. It doesn't send a notice. Sometimes the day that looks completely ordinary is the day destiny quietly walks in. Daniel had no idea that this was one of those days. He had gone to the community center, the same one he passed every week, to volunteer for a small event. He wasn't paid, he wasn't invited, he wasn't the star. He was simply helping, quietly, humbly.
While arranging chairs and testing sound equipment, one of the coordinators noticed the precision in his work, the care he put into every little detail. "Hey, you seem pretty skilled," the coordinator said. "What do you do?" Daniel hesitated. For the first time in months, he didn't shrink back. With a calm voice, he said, "I create things, designs, concepts, ideas. I build presentations. I bring visions to life." There was no arrogance in his tone, just honesty. The coordinator nodded slowly, almost as if he had been waiting to hear those words from someone. "We actually need someone like you," he said. "Someone who sees things differently, someone who pays attention. Let me show you something." He took Daniel to a small office at the back of the center. Inside was a large folder, a project proposal that needed to be transformed into something powerful, something that could attract investors, something that could change lives. Daniel opened the folder. His heart tightened. His hands trembled. It was everything he had trained for, everything he had quietly prepared for, everything he thought he had lost. That night, he worked on the project as if his soul had been waiting for this exact moment. He didn't sleep. He didn't rest. Every stroke, every detail, every word carried the weight of his journey. And when he finally presented it, silence filled the room. Not the silence of confusion, but the silence of awe. For the first time, people saw him not as the guy who failed, but as an artist, a creator, a visionary. And as the investors nodded, impressed, one of them leaned forward and said, "Where have you been hiding all this time?" Daniel smiled gently. "Building," he said, "just building." At that moment, something shifted inside him. He realized the truth he had been blind to. If the first door had opened, he would never have been here. He would never have discovered his talent. He would never have met these people. He would never have found his purpose. What he once called the wrong door was actually the door that pushed him toward the right future. And life, in its quiet, mysterious way, had finally revealed the turning point that his heart had been waiting for. There is a moment in every quiet warrior's journey when the world finally opens its eyes and wonders how it ever overlooked them. For Daniel, this moment arrived gently, not with fireworks, not with headlines, but with whispers. The project he created spread through the community center staff first. "He's brilliant. Who is this guy? How did we not see him before?" Soon, those whispers reached business owners, organizers, and local leaders. One by one, people began to ask for him, not because he sought attention, but because his work spoke louder than his voice ever could. Daniel found himself in rooms he never imagined being invited into, meetings where people asked for his ideas, events where he was introduced as the creative mind behind the project, conversations where his opinion wasn't just heard, it was respected. But even in these spaces, he remained grounded. He remembered the days when no one noticed him. He remembered the silent mornings, the doubt on his father's face, the sting of rejection, the nights when he thought he had no talent at all. And that memory kept him humble. One evening, after presenting a new concept to a panel, an older woman approached him, someone who had seen hundreds of young creators over the years. "You have something rare," she said softly. "You don't just design, you feel. You see meaning in things others overlook. That's what gives your work life." Daniel lowered his head. "Thank you," he whispered. She smiled. "Don't thank me. Thank the doors that closed on you. Without them, you wouldn't have discovered what was already in you." Her words struck him, like a piece of truth that had been waiting in the shadows. For the first time, Daniel understood something that changed his spirit. Recognition doesn't come when you chase it. It comes when you become someone worth finding. And he was becoming that someone, not because life was easy, but because life pushed him through the fire to uncover who he was meant to be.
Purpose doesn't arrive like a message. It arrives like a mirror, reflecting back the person you've quietly become. Daniel was working late one night, finalizing designs for a community initiative, when he heard footsteps behind him. It was the director of the center, a man known for his seriousness, a man who rarely praised anyone. "Daniel," he said, "come take a walk with me." They stepped outside. The night air was cool, the streetlights painting long shadows on the pavement. The director stopped, looked at the glowing windows of the community center, and then turned to him. "You know, when you first came here, I thought you were just another volunteer searching for something to do," he said. "But now I see you clearly. You weren't searching for something to do, you were searching for who you are." Daniel swallowed, unsure how to respond. The director continued, "You remind me of people who were forced onto a different path, only to discover it was the path they were meant for all along." He paused, letting the silence settle. "Daniel, I want to offer you something. A position, not as a volunteer, not as a helper, but as a creator, leading the visual and creative direction for our upcoming programs." Daniel's heart trembled. He remembered the day he stood outside that other door, the one he begged God to open, the one that shut in his face, the one that made him feel worthless. And now, this, a new door, a better one, a door that didn't just give him work, but gave him purpose. The director placed a hand on his shoulder. "You didn't get rejected," he said quietly. "You got redirected." Those words broke something open inside Daniel. Not pain, not resistance, but gratitude. Gratitude for the wrong turn, gratitude for the closed doors, gratitude for the nights he doubted himself, gratitude for the journey that felt like suffering but was secretly shaping him. As he looked at the community center, glowing under the night sky, he finally understood. Purpose is not found in success, it is found in the path that prepares you for it. Everything suddenly made sense. Every setback, every tear, every moment of loneliness. They weren't obstacles, they were instructions, they were guidance, they were clues from a higher hand shaping his destiny. Daniel didn't just find work that night. He found meaning. He found direction. He found the life he was always meant to live. And for the first time in a long time, as he looked up at the sky, he whispered with confidence, "Thank you for every closed door." Sometimes life brings us back to the very place where we once fell, not to humiliate us, but to show us how far we've risen. Months had passed since Daniel found his purpose. His projects were transforming the community center. People who once overlooked him now searched for him. Organizations that never knew his name now waited for his ideas. But the biggest surprise came one morning when he received a message from the same company that once rejected him. They remembered him, not because of his old application, but because word of his work had reached them through others. They wanted him to collaborate on a major creative campaign. The irony hit him so hard, he laughed out loud. Life had a strange way of unfolding. The door he once begged to open, the one that slammed in his face, was now opening on its own, inviting him in. No interview, no competition, no proving himself, just a simple, quiet invitation. As Daniel walked into the building he once dreamed of joining, a wave of memories flooded his chest. The despair he felt the day he was rejected, the nights he cried, asking why me, The humiliation he carried like a shadow. Now, here he was, not as someone begging to be accepted, but as someone being welcomed for the value he now carried. The manager shook his hand warmly. "We've heard about your work," he said. "You have a unique vision. We'd be honored to collaborate with you." Daniel smiled, not out of pride, but out of understanding. It wasn't the opportunity itself that moved him, but what it represented. Proof that the path meant for you will always find you when you become ready for it. After the meeting, Daniel stepped outside and looked up at the sky. For the first time, he didn't feel like he was chasing life. He felt like life had started chasing him. Everything suddenly aligned. Everything suddenly made sense. The wrong door had pushed him toward the right future.
Life is a strange teacher. It doesn't always give you what you want. It doesn't always take you where you expected to go. And it certainly doesn't always explain its reasons right away. But one truth stands unshaken. Every closed door hides a lesson. Every rejection hides redirection. Every wrong turn hides the path you were meant to walk. Daniel's story is not just his story. It is the story of every person who has ever felt forgotten, defeated, unseen, or pushed away from the door they believed was the one. He learned that the door he wanted was too small for the greatness inside him. The path he prayed for wasn't the path that would reveal who he truly was. The rejection he thought was a curse was actually the greatest gift life ever gave him. Sometimes life has to break your plans before it can reveal its own. Sometimes God closes the door you want because it leads to a smaller version of the person you're meant to become. Sometimes you lose what you thought was everything, only to discover you were meant for something far beyond it. And so, as Daniel walked home that day with a new purpose, a new identity, and a new peace in his heart, he whispered softly, almost as a prayer, "Thank you for protecting me from what I wanted so you could guide me to what I needed." Because in the end, that is the real miracle of life. The wrong door isn't the end, it's the beginning of the right future. And for anyone listening to this story right now, feeling lost, confused, rejected, or wondering why your path seems to be falling apart, remember this. The door that closed on you may be the exact reason your destiny will open. Keep the faith. Trust the process. Walk forward with courage, because one day you will look back just like Daniel did and say with a full heart, "The door I cried for was nothing compared to the future I was being prepared for."